You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 2.
Yeah, it's good to be back. The first episode was last week, and it went really well. And there's a ton of Texas poker news to get to this week as well.
Speaking of which, I guess I'll let you get right into the latest in the poker scene this week, Clint. What do we have going on?
You know, there's so much going on. What I had to give the lead story to is the Prime Series being announced. They announced their new summer series with they have the new tournament director, Justin Hammer, that everybody's excited to have in Houston, who has a ton of experience hosting these things. And he announced all the entire series with the second Texas $1 million guarantee. We actually have the first one just starting off this week, and we already have the second one for this summer lined out. So, and it's early summer. It's coming up very quickly. So, very excited about this lineup, man. It's going to be great. The first event is going to be a 360 buy-in, a $200,000 guarantee. And it seems like these series like to start off with like a kind of a not too steep buy-in with a pretty big guarantee to kind of lead off the series, which I really think is a good way to go about it.
Absolutely. And also the dates for this series is going to start May 20th and continue through June 6th.
Yeah, it's May 20th through June 6th. And it'll start off with that 360 buy-in, and it'll kind of end off with that $1 million guarantee. And one thing that's really cool is all final tables will be live streamed. Right.
So if you want to play on a live stream, here's your shot kind of thing.
Yeah, and they did this with their last tournament, that $300 it was like $300 buy-in. It was a big guarantee. I think it was $200,000 or something.
I believe so.
They did it, and I thought it was really entertaining. They kind of lucked out that they had a huge, like, kind of Houston all-star lineup. They had Ray Henson and a lot of other well-known poker players.
They had the Juan. He was also in there mixing it up.
He actually took it down.
There we go. Really mixing it up.
Yeah, I noticed on the live stream, he seemed to have like the biggest rooting interest. A lot of people were rooting for him. I think I had to go with Ray Henson just because he is like that Houston all-star.
And also, once you saw him down to, was it 2 big blinds or 3?
2 big blinds.
To come back and still be able to battle he battled for a few hours after he was down to 2 big blinds.
Oh, I think he went to first place for a minute. I mean, it was either in first or second place from 2 big blinds.
Right, which is just ridiculous, but also shows what kind of skill he has.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it takes a lot of luck to do that as well, but that being said, to kind of battle back from that was pretty insane. I was definitely rooting for that because talk about a great story from 2 big blinds to take it down, but congratulations to Juan.
Also kind of shows how he, the ability to keep his mental composure, because I know a lot of people, once they get down to 2 big blinds, kind of just mentally write it off and just kind of go all in with anything and just kind of already pack it in. Just to see him keep playing through the 2 big blind was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see like a tournament player in action like that. That's what's one thing about these live streams that's very fun to see is, standard strategy, 10 to 20 big blinds, you're kind of starting to look to get it all in. But you see a tournament player like that and you realize that, hey, not every tournament can you just go in one strategy. Sometimes you just got to wait for the right moment. It's eventually it will come. But I'm really excited to do these, see these final tables live streamed. I think it's really good. It's going to be really entertaining. Obviously, the $1 million guarantee is going to be the ridiculously big story here. But one event I think is so interesting is this heads-up tournament with 64 players. I used to love watching these on Hulu back in the day, these heads-up championships, and I think that's going to be so much fun to see.
Right, I remember watching them. I actually went to Half Price Books and got the DVD collection of the Heads Up Championships and got to watch it. So entertaining. And I remember last time they had a Heads Up tournament, it filled up so quick. So I imagine this one will be the exact same thing.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because it is a pretty steep buy-in. It's 1,100, which makes a lot of sense because this is going to be a very expensive tournament to run, to have a dealer for just 2 players. So I can understand it. One thing I would love to see is like at least a couple satellites that you could get in for cheaper. Because I'm not going to buy in for $1,100 on this Heads Up tournament. But I tell you what, I would love to get a shot at it for a little bit cheaper. If they could run like, a sit and go for $150 or something like that. Because this Heads Up is going to be really fun.
Right, but so to limit how long the tournament is going to be in that Heads Up, it's only going to be 64 players. So keep that in mind whenever you're signing up. So 64 people, then it's going to be locked out. So
yeah. So if you want into that one, you better go ahead and buy in quick. They could go pretty fast. I don't know if the $1,100 buy-in will kind of keep it at bay, and it'll be a little bit before it fills up, but it definitely could fill up very quickly.
I remember last time. I don't remember the exact buy-in, but I remember it was kind of steep. And it filled up instantly. So if you want to do it, you really need to be on it kind of right away. I'm not sure when registration opens up, but I'm sure you could call them or go to their website to register.
Yeah, so if you want to do it, go ahead and register quickly. But I would rather you not because I want them to do a satellite, and I need it to not fill up to be able to do this. So, but no, if you want to do it, definitely run in, do it. They're doing the No Limit Hold'em $600 buy-in at a $300,000 guarantee. That is going to be really awesome as well. I kind of noticed on this tournament, it's a little bit steeper buy-ins than the Champion Series that's going in. I'm wondering if there's going to be any mini satellites for these tournaments.
I'm sure they're going to. Well, I bet they're going to have them, but it also seems like they have so many players coming in, driving in, flying in. I'm not sure if they need them, but I'm sure they're going to do some, though, just to kind of give back. Or not give back, but give some players the opportunity to get into these tournaments.
Yeah, I think so. So, I guess it depends on how many people register and how quickly.
Right.
But it's... so I am very excited on a lot of these. Obviously, the $1 million guarantee is going to be the lead-in here. One thing that is super cool, they're having free rolls into the main event every Wednesday and Friday at noon, and Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. And these free rolls, I forget, it was like a $20, it's like $20 entry, and then I believe it's like a $20 staff bonus, and you're actually pretty well stacked. So I think that is a really awesome, because I know Champions did a lot of the satellites into their $1 million guarantee, but I guess because this $1 million guarantee is a little bit cheaper buy-in, the free rolls to get into it are a little bit cheaper to get into it as well, giving the average person a really good shot at a huge payday.
Right, which is, like we always say, super cool that they allow for these kind of satellites to let the average guy or average player, get into these main events. And also they have started having a live stream Wednesday through Saturday, which has been filling up pretty consistently. I know me and you've been kind of keeping an eye on it on Facebook and Twitch.
Yeah, I think their live stream is very enjoyable. It's not the best quality. It's not Texas Card House or the Lodge quality, but it is still fun to watch. And it's probably the most accessible for a normal person. If you want to play on a live stream and just kind of judge your play, it'd be great to kind of see how you're doing against some other players and knowing what they have. It's great for that. And like I say, it seems way more accessible than some of the others, like Texas Card House and the Lodge. I know they have 1-3, but it's usually super deep stacked, like $2,000 average stack. This seems way more normal.
Seems strange that they call that game a 1-3 game whenever everyone's so deep and the game plays so big, but I guess it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, that's the deep stacked in Texas. Sometimes I just wish it would go to 2-5, 5-5, because if it's going to play like that anyways, might as well go there.
Right, but I guess they also Prime is doing free PLO or I guess it's free from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then it's $6 PLO every day.
Yeah, that 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. is also free for Hold'em.
Oh wow, okay.
So it and then it will go to $12 after that. I really like seeing Prime make they seem like they're trying to make a huge comeback, and I do like a lot of the things they're doing. They're thinking outside of the box. They're having dominoes tournaments. I mean, they're really trying to strive to become a huge force in the poker industry again.
I feel like they're definitely making the right moves.
Yeah, I've been real impressed with how they've done some of this stuff. I mean, they're bringing in talent from outside of the Texas area. The live stream, I think, is done pretty well. So they're really doing a good job.
And also, in other news, 52 Social South, the truck giveaway is April 24th. So that's just coming up. And they're also doing a really cool giveaway that day. So every day on the hour, they give you a chance to win. So you get to win to spin the wheel, and then once you spin the wheel, you get prizes. They've advertised so far like iPads, TVs, and that's all going to be every, I believe it was 30 minutes.
It was, I believe, every hour.
It might have been an hour, but
Yeah.
If you're going there, you'll be able to look it up ahead of time before you go. But they're definitely doing the spin the wheel for bigger prizes, and also what they're doing is they're waiving your new membership fee. And your new membership fee and your entry fee. And if you bring a friend, you get 2 hours. You both get 2 hours of free play.
Yeah, so basically it seems like they're just trying to make this Sunday where they're giving this truck away into like a big kind of party atmosphere.
Right, I agree. I'd be really interested to see what kind of prizes they give away, because they kind of left it almost like a cliffhanger with just the TVs and iPads. I'm sure they're going to have other things as well.
Well, you're spinning that wheel. It's got a ton of different categories, it seems like, but that was the only things they mentioned. So maybe like free time or something like that. I don't know. This is all speculation because, like you said, once it says TVs, iPads, it just kind of goes ... and you really don't know
Right.
what it's going to be.
Right. I guess we also have some news on Champions you're going to let us know about.
Yeah, you know what? This actually brings me back. There's two people I want to recognize here. I've got one of a good friend who I've played with a long time and is a well-known grinder in the Houston poker community, Miguel Pineda. He got 6th out of 571 entries for an 11,000 finish, and then back-to-back weeks got 4th out of 514 for 12,000. So I want to congratulate him for just running hot, and I hope he continues to kill it. I know he's looking to try to do the $1 million guarantee, so hopefully he keeps on that huge upswing.
Right, just keeps crushing the tournament.
That's someone I used to play with at free rolls, like some bar free rolls for free entry. So to see someone like that go from, killing it at a free roll at a bar to cashing out $25,000 in 2 weeks or close to it, that's pretty amazing.
Definitely sounds like a great week for him.
So, and then leading into Champions, I would also like to congratulations to Gerald Stogner. He won the series kickoff for $23,749. A $400 buy-in turned into $23,749. That's a good profit. That's a good investment right there.
Right.
And that was, I believe, a $150,000 guarantee.
Believe so.
Okay, that doesn't sound like much, but from what I could tell on their Facebook, that was chopped 3 ways. It looked like an ICM chop in which he was the leader. There were 3 people who got over $20,000. So that was a pretty amazing payday for those 3 people, along with anybody else who cashed.
Right. So it's quite a bit bigger than it first appears when you see first place for $23,000. It was actually the top 3 people getting it, so it was a very big prize pool.
Yeah, I wanted to definitely clear that up because sometimes you can see the first place on these huge guarantees and be like, well, that's not enough, and be like, I wonder, that might be a horrible rake structure or something like that. No, it was an ICM chop, so 3 people took home gigantic paydays. One thing I am obviously the lead-in for Champions, their $1 million guarantee, the first in Texas history, will be coming up this week. So we are super excited to see what that brings. And they also got the live stream. They did a test this week. Their live stream, it's probably not quite Texas Card House quality, but it's very close. I was very impressed.
Right. I've seen their live stream before and always have been kind of not blown away. Well, I guess blown away, but it also helps that they have the commentators with it. Definitely adds to the stream.
Yeah, I forget the name, but there was definitely a professional commentator, and I tell you what, you can easily tell the difference between a professional and not a professional because he did such a good job. I was so impressed.
I feel like it's one of those things where everyone thinks that they could do commentary on a live stream until you try to do it. Like if I know I was kind of in my head trying to think of things that you could say if you were by yourself or even with somebody. I think it's way harder than you would think.
Kind of like podcasting.
Exactly like podcasting.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I'm very much looking forward to that. When it first aired, when I was looking at it on Twitch, it kind of had this like kind of far out, spaced out view, and I was like, oh god, this kind of looks like another stream I'm just not a big fan of.
Right.
And then, but eventually it kind of zoomed in and closed up, and I was really impressed, almost too much by the audio. Like you could hear the chips so well, and the players talking way better than I thought you would be able to.
Well, that would be really nice because I know when we were watching the Lodge's stream, one thing that they would say a few times is they're talking to each other and you could see their mouths moving or their masks moving. But it would be really cool if we could actually hear what they were saying.
Definitely for some, I guess, like this is unfair to compare these local streams to this, but the high stakes poker I think does the best job of like commentary, but you can also hear the players and it's really interesting and fun to listen to. They do the best job of like combining that. And granted, that's a hell of a lot to shoot for. So, I mean, but like that's like I think the perfect mix, but I was really impressed by it. I think the big question is they're having the Monster No Limit Hold'em 420,000 guaranteed. I would love to see that live stream today. I remember saying they were going to do the first one Wednesday. I'm hoping they do that one because I think that would be a really interesting one to see. Today they're also doing the No Limit Hold'em PLO and Big O mix game. This was one I was really interested in seeing. I like the mix games. I like that they're kind of becoming a thing around here in Texas. It's a $400 8,000 guarantee, which doesn't sound like much, but your chances of winning are going to be a whole hell of a lot more on a game like that too.
Right. It's also pretty cool seeing that Thursday they have the PLO Championships for a $600 buy-in with 30,000 guarantee. I feel like they just have to crush that guarantee, right?
I think so. I mean, PLO is such a huge game here. I know, like, usually for most places, it's, No Limit Hold'em crushes it, but in Texas, PLO is huge. So the 30,000 guarantee at 600 buy-in, I think it crushes it easily.
Right. I just don't see how it doesn't. But if you're interested into it, that's going to be Thursday for the $600 buy-in. So keep an eye out for that one.
I would also love to see that live streamed. My PLO game needs some help. I am not the best PLO player. I would love to see that live stream because it's a great training tool to kind of see how some of these top-level players really do play their PLO hands, especially tournament, because most people have not played a PLO tournament. It's very popular as a cash game here.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I'm sure the strategy for the final table in PLO versus your cash game strategy would vary greatly, but it would still be a good starting point for if you just wanted to kind of see some high-level strategy.
Yeah, so I'm definitely hoping they if they could get the live stream going for that, I think that would be so much fun. Friday they have the Ultimate Deep Stack, the $400 buy-in for 25,000 guarantee. I like that they've had multiple Deep Stack No Limit Hold'em tournaments. I think that it's just those are my favorite events.
I feel like you get the most play for your money on those. But this one is a little bit bigger than the other Deep Stack tournaments. It has a 25,000 guarantee instead of the 20,000 guarantee.
Yeah, it's so like I say, the deeper the stack, the better. Because when I'm doing a tournament, there's two things I want to do. I want to profit and win the tournament, but also I want as much enjoyment out of that tournament as possible. So if I'm going to pay $400, I want to get my time's worth out of it. And for the other people, even if I win it, the people who don't win it, I want to see everybody go and have a good time and feel like they got their money's worth out of it.
Right, because if you're not going and having a good time, you might as well, play online somewhere on some Poker Stars or something like that, right? The whole fun is going there and getting the experience of playing live in a big tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's times I remember the first WSOP event I did. I didn't win it, but I had such a fun time because it was such an experience that I was okay with not winning it. I was okay not cashing.
Right.
I would have rather cashed. Let me go ahead and say that, but it was such an experience that I enjoyed it anyways.
I was like, that's an interesting take on tournament poker. But I guess if you're not going to cash, that's the attitude.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to try. I'm going to try very hard to go to that tournament on Friday. So next week we'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I would love to see you take that down.
Me and you both.
Yeah, especially if I have a piece of your action, which I'm definitely going to try to get. So we're definitely going to hope for that. During Saturday, they will have the surprise bounty. Those are always a lot of fun tournaments. 30,000 guaranteed with 10,000 in added bounties. So that's going to be a huge one.
Have you ever played in a surprise bounty tournament? Because I haven't.
Yes, I have. Actually, the one I took second place at Paramount, I believe. I can't remember if it was a surprise bounty or not. It might have just been a bounty tournament.
I thought the one you took second place in was just a bounty tournament because I've heard I'm not quite sure how the surprise bounty works. I don't know if you get a chip and then you turn it in to see how much it is or what they end up doing. I was just wondering if you knew, or do we have to just show up and play it to find out?
I think you're just going to have to show up and play it to find out. I'm not sure how it is, but I think it'd be it definitely adds another level. I don't know. It seems very interesting.
That's what I was saying. I feel like everyone probably does it a little bit different, but they've always been a lot of fun, the surprise bounty. So definitely worth checking out on Saturday.
I would like to know for the surprise bounty if they do if they have like what the average bounty is. Because if it was just a complete surprise and they didn't have the average bounty, that really just murders any strategy. I mean, I don't know how you would strategize that. So I'm guessing they have like what the average bounty is, and it might be lower, it might be higher, it might just be that average. I would assume.
My guess, complete speculation, would be that they would have the average bounty and then like surprise jackpot bounties kind of thing.
That would be fun. That would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
They have the tag team, $250 per player, 10,000 guaranteed. I can see these being popular. I don't know. It's not really. If I'm gonna pay $250 for a tournament, I honestly just want to be able to play my tournament. I mean, but I don't know. I guess if you push me to, we could tag team this tournament or whatever. But yeah, I will be at work, so it's not gonna really happen.
I was about to say I don't think either of us will be there, but it's always nice to throw in a different type of tournament, kind of mix it up. So it'll be kind of cool to see who ends up taking it down.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see who ends up taking it down. I can imagine it would be. You talk about a huge sweat if like me and you are in this and you're at the final table or I'm at the final table. That'd be a huge sweat, especially live stream where I'm going to be criticizing every single head, or likewise you would be with me. Be like, what are you doing? So it will be a fun tournament. It'd be interesting. And like I say, I like anything that's different. So. And then the biggest one by far is the $1 million guarantee next week. I cannot wait for this. The huge celebrity names, I think, is going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what the first place goes for. There's going to be a lot of interest in this.
Also in big first places in other poker news, the Texas Card House just had their $500,000 guarantee. And first place was $212,000.
That is pretty amazing. That was an I believe like an $800 buy-in. So $800 to turn that into $212,000. I had all the payouts for the first 5, but I kind of lost them. But I do know this: first through 5th all made $50,000 or more.
Right. It must have just. Do you know if they crushed the guarantee? I would think they would have to have, right?
I don't know if they did or not. I really didn't hear on that particular thing, but it seems like. I mean, I know that tournament was being run when a whole bunch of big tournaments were running, but a lot of those were in Houston, and I know this tournament the most focus was in Dallas, so maybe that helped.
Right. Well, and also that big first prize for $500K. That's just the nature of a $500,000 guarantee, is a giant first place prize. So.
Yeah, I mean that's why we do tournaments. I mean, yeah, we can do cash games if we want to just grind it up. If you want to make $212,000 in one day, then that's your tournament.
And you're also going to tell us about the Step Up tournament that they have going, correct?
Yeah, the Texas Card House, they're doing a promotion, and I think this is super fun. This World Poker Tour Steps final. So what it's going to be is just like the steps from back in the online day, where you start with like a small amount, you win yourself up to a slightly bigger tournament, to a slightly bigger tournament. You start out with a $5 buy-in and end up with a $250 buy-in. This is going to be the same thing. It's only going to be live. So what it will be is they're going to have weekly tournaments at some of these Texas card houses. I believe mostly, I don't believe in Dallas. I believe it's in Austin, Houston, and Rio Grande Valley. And it's like a 90 to 135 buy-in, depending on the tournament you go to. But if you win that, you win yourself into the monthly, which will then, you can either win yourself into it, or you can buy into that monthly for like $250 to $325. So once you win that, then it's an invite only for a semi-annual event. And you will be entered into that tournament, and the winner will end up on a World Poker Tour cruise. And all the travel expenses are covered, the lodging is covered. I believe the buy-in will be covered for the tournament. It sounds like a ton of fun. I mean, to be able to compete for this at a $90 to $135 event is just, I think it's super fun. I think this is a great idea.
Right. You could definitely have kind of like a Chris Moneymaker type story, which would be, could you imagine if you bought in for 90 and then ended up cashing the cruise main event?
Oh man, it'd be so great. And to me, this is what makes Texas poker great, is like back in the online days, you could basically buy in for very cheap amounts and win these satellites and win huge amounts, just like Chris Moneymaker. And now that you can do it in a live setting, I think it's a great idea, and I love that they're capitalizing on it.
And that cruise will be October 3rd through October 10th, if you're keeping an eye on the dates.
Yeah, so that will be great. Now, this is in the COVID era, so I am a little concerned on those dates. But at this point, we're just going to hope for the best. We're going to hope that, the numbers keep going down and we can return to life as normal, and this goes just as planned. And like I say, it would not steer me away from doing these events. Right.
I guess at this point we can only kind of just hope for the best, but that's not even the only cruise this week that we've heard about.
Yeah, I've never done a poker cruise. It is definitely on my bucket list. So I was really excited to see Texas Card House will be hosting a poker cruise March 20th through 27th, 2022. So it's a long time from now, which is great because that gives even more time for things to settle down. It'll be on a Royal Caribbean ship, Liberty of the Seas, and I just can't wait. I think Texas Card House will just be in charge of like the poker room on the ship. So now I'm wondering how many poker players is on that poker cruise and all of that. And I would love to see like some satellites Texas Card House could do to maybe win your way onto the cruise. I don't know what's available. I don't know what the contract is, but I feel like could be so fun.
Oh, I too have never been on a poker cruise, but this would definitely be one that I'd be looking to get on if I was going to go on a cruise and I was looking for that extra incentive, this is definitely it to get me on that boat.
Oh yeah. Well, and I love to combine poker with travel anyways. I like to go to different areas and all that. So a poker cruise is just right up my alley. So I don't know if I do this one. I definitely want to do one in the future, but I would love to be associated with this one. Like I say, I'm very curious to see how it all works out.
Right, and it seems like when Texas Card House is kind of in charge of things like that, it always is kind of a pretty good success. So I'm sure it's going to be a great time whenever if you end up getting on the cruise or winning your way on the cruise.
Yeah, so I definitely expect it to be well run. They do a really good job with everything. Uh, like I've always been a big fan of their live stream, even their podcast. I like it's like I say, I like ours because we can definitely be less biased towards all the poker rooms. But I think they've always done a good job with just about everything they've done.
Something kind of cool, kind of switching to the next room with as far as news. A room I haven't played at, but you play at pretty regularly. The Lodge. Just recently, a ton of vloggers have kind of all released their vlogs. The Lodge vlog. We had Next Gen Poker releasing a vlog, Adam Rude releasing a vlog, Mariano releasing a vlog, all at the Lodge, and just really kind of showed how nice the room is, how cool the live stream is. What's your experience been playing at the Lodge?
Oh, I think it's one of the best poker rooms in Texas. They definitely probably get the most action of any place I've been outside of 52 Social. They always have multiple tables. They're probably the only poker room in Texas. I can only say probably. It'd be really rare for this. They host 2 tournaments a day. They host an afternoon and a night tournament. I mean, do you know how much action you have to get to be able to host 2 tournaments a day? It's just crazy. They probably have the biggest guaranteed free roll. They have a Tuesday free roll, 8,000 guaranteed, and for the most part, it goes up above like $13,000 almost every Tuesday.
Right, and you said you've played in that, and it's been just madness, just buying after buying, tons of action, tons of players. How has that been for you?
Oh, it's just gigantic. It's a huge tournament. I definitely think it's the biggest. I don't know how you want to go with free roll in Texas. It's $25 for 10,000 chips, and you can rebuy $20 for 10,000 chips. I basically consider free roll tournaments in Texas more or less just cheap tournaments.
Right, that's basically the only way you can think about them, because there's no way they make these giant prize pools without you having to pay some money, and paying $25 buy-in with the add-on of 25 seems well worth it.
Yeah, so for the listener, like if you do these free roll tournaments, a lot of them, how they will advertise is you pay like one admin fee of like maybe $10 to $20, and you get like maybe 5,000 chips. Why we say it's a cheap tournament, not a free roll, is a lot of times the add-on or the rebuy is so big. I mean, you do an add-on for $20 and it's 40,000 chips. So, which is great. Creates a very deep structure for a very cheap tournament, and I love the way it is. But that's kind of where we go with cheap tournaments versus free rolls.
How would you say this free roll is if you were going to take a brand new player? Is this a good free roll to take them to, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. You can pay $25, 10,000 chips. You are not short stacked. You pay another $20 and you get 10,000 chips. This would be great. It would be really a fun experience because to me, when you bring a new player into something, you really just want it to be a fun experience. I want a big tournament that just creates a lot of action and just like a fun experience for them so they'll want to keep coming back. But yeah, I've really loved it. Like I love how they're doing the vloggers and the live stream. What do you feel about those live streams? Did you really enjoy watching the vloggers do them?
I really enjoyed watching the vloggers do them, and I also enjoyed watching the vlogs, how they were able to use, because I'm sure the Lodge had to allow them to use their footage. So that was really cool that they let them use the footage to make the vlogs. And all the vloggers, always doing a great job. But we also talk about just how massive the Texas deep stack poker is. And if you want to see a prime example of it, tune into the Lodge's live stream if you want to see a gigantic Texas poker game.
Yeah, it was really their games are just gigantic. They're one thing they have also that is very rare. They have 1-2 games and 1-3 games, which is pretty awesome because it gives like different levels of player. And the 1-2 plays way less deep stack than the 1-3. So 1-2 would be like almost like a Vegas 1-2 game, whereas 1-3 is like a Texas deep stack game. I think that's a really cool thing that they do.
Texas Card House Austin also did well when I went probably last year. They have that same type of situation there.
I feel like that's more like in Austin, like you get more 1-2 games, and then the 1-3 is like the upper level to a degree. I haven't played in Austin enough to completely know that Lodge is really the only place, but that seems the how it is. So some things about the Lodge that I am going to highlight. They have on this Sunday, they will have the Big One re-entry tournament. $345 entry for a 20,000 guaranteed, 30-minute levels and 25,000 chips. There's only going to be only one re-entry, and late registration will be till 4/27. It starts at 12 p.m. I think I forgot to mention that. And the winner receives a trophy and plaque on the wall. I think that's going to be a really fun tournament. It's $345. I like that it's only one re-entry. It creates almost like a freeze-out environment without completely being a freeze-out.
You've been to the Lodge. Do they already have plaques up? Is that something you commonly see, or is this going to be the beginning of it?
Oh no, they have a ton of them up. Yeah, they really enjoy highlighting like the good players and people who've been successful. So you kind of go on that wall just to kind of be remembered in the Lodge history. So I think that's a really cool idea that they do.
I don't think anyone else has anything even close to something like that. So that's a really cool kind of thing that they do.
Yeah, they have a lot of great ideas, and I've been blown away by that room. So a couple other things I want to highlight on this room, because they do such a good job. It is free to play 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. every single day. So I know a lot of these Texas poker rooms are doing this in Texas to kind of get their day games up and running. They're like everyone else, but they probably one of the few in Austin that actually have a game running at that time. But it is free. They have the Bad Beat Jackpot at $11,000 to Texas Hold'em and $6,000 in Omaha. Increases each month. Don't go to sleep on those Bad Beat Jackpots. Recently playing at a poker room with a Bad Beat Jackpot without a Bad Beat Jackpot and would have hit. It's a sad day because if you lose and they don't have a Bad Beat Jackpot, you just lose.
For this, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Yeah, it was a very sad day. I lost with quad sixes. So that's basically everything I want to say about the Lodge. But like I say, they are really doing a good job. Definitely one of the top rooms in the Austin area. So Tyler, I think we're going to highlight another club that's also making some waves. Shuffle 512, you want to?
Sure. So we said that they just released a new Bad Beat Jackpot, and it's a $5,000 jackpot. So like you said, it's always nice if you're going to take a horrible beat to be at a room with a Bad Beat Jackpot.
Oh, yeah. At this point, at least for the next month, I don't think I'll play it one without it.
So, but they double the Bad Beat Jackpot Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then Tuesday, Thursday from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. I mean, I'm sure you can't pick when you take a horrendous beat, but if you could, do it in those times.
Well, it might encourage you to play more on a certain time. If you know there's a bigger chance, I don't know, I might go a little bit earlier to kind of take advantage of that. So I really think that's a really cool idea that they're doing.
Another kind of cool idea that they're doing, or they're also having scheduled cash games with Big O on Monday and Thursday at 1 p.m.
Oh, I love this. I have really kind of started to really enjoy Omaha High-Low. And I love that some of these mixed games are catching on in Texas. And Texas is one of the few places you can play these mixed games at kind of lower stakes and lower rakes.
Right. Well, also speaking of Shuffle 512 allowing lower stakes, they're also doing 1-1 PLO. Thursday at 7, Friday at 6, and Saturday at 6. But kind of makes for an interesting kind of subject or something to think about if you're going to go play in this 1-1 PLO game. I'm not sure how big or how deep stacked it is. But I would think if you're still paying the same hourly time, that is going to be a super tough hourly to either beat or, unless you're just doing it for experience and practice, which is perfectly fine too, which is probably what I would do with this 1-1 PLO, just to really get your feet wet and really mix it up in the cash game without playing for, because if you're in the 1-3 PLO game, you're normally in it for at least $300.
Yeah, I think for maybe the kind of newer PLO players, this is a great idea. I don't know how good your chances are of beating the time fee in the long run at 1-1, but it's a great way to get better at it. I would much rather see these newer players have $100 out there than $300 when they're just beginning. Because coming from a place where I play at College Station, there's a lot of players who come in there and have never played high-low, have never played the reverse PLO, and they'll lose their entire stack because they know No Limit Hold'em and they don't want to sit out that one game and get killed. So I think this is a great way to start out. I think if you are doing this, the goal needs to be eventually to go to 1-3, but I think this is a great way to get training for it.
I would even kind of enjoy doing that just to try it out for myself, because I don't have nearly as much PLO experience as I do Hold'em. And I would really like to play a 1-1 PLO game just as pure practice and just kind of getting familiar with different situations, boards, and just getting just that experience.
I think it's a great way to do it. I mean, I've raved about the Paramount, their round of each tournament, as a good way to kind of break yourself into PLO rather than just jumping these high-level cash games. But this would be more accurate because it literally is a cash game. A tournament, it just plays different.
And it's also nice to see someone or another room, because we have a few rooms, but another room lending themselves to the beginner, someone trying to learn PLO. That's really cool to see as well.
Yeah, I really am just, as any content creator or anybody who's just a poker enthusiast, you want to see the game grow, and stuff like this really helps the game grow. A lot of these rooms get set on, they want to be known as the one that has the highest limits. It creates a kind of a buzz and all that. But, some of these other rooms that are doing the lower stakes, they're the ones really growing the game in the long run.
Right, and there's a reason. I mean, just because they have the biggest game going on, a vast majority of players can't play in the biggest game that the room has.
Oh, yeah, a very niche market when you're going, 50, 100 PLO or something. So, yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of has a cool sound, but you've been in rooms with games that big. You can't really you don't really go over there and just stand and watch. You kind of do your own thing, and you're almost never playing in a game that big.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's cool to be around that type of action, but at the end of the day, I want the game that's going to suit me the best. I mean, I'm there to play, not really usually watch, so...
And some other news, which is kind of not so much tournament related or cash game related, Paramount just released on their Instagram that beginning April 20th, they're no longer going to require members to wear the facial masks. And if you want to talk about a room who has been taking the facial masks very serious, Paramount is one of them. And it's going to be very interesting to see how their player pool reacts, how just what ends up coming about of that room when they allow them to not wear masks. Because a lot of rooms have already allowed them not to wear masks. But it's going to be interesting to see Paramount, because I've played there a few times. We'll talk about that later. It's an interesting situation. But it'll be interesting to see what ends up coming of this. Because I know a lot of their players will say that, well, I only come here if everyone wears a mask. And then I've heard the other side at that same room. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, something else that's also interesting that I don't think we've talked about is, Austin is very strict with the mask. Like, I think every poker room I have been at, they do still require the mask to be worn. I think Champions, you can go and you have the choice, but with Paramount, not. Yeah, it's such a huge change because they have been the most strict. I mean, if you are drinking or eating, I mean, they will almost want that in between sips or bites. I mean, they are super strict. So I think it'll be interesting. I think everybody's going to have their opinions, and some people are going to some people are going to love it. I know a lot of people are going to love it because a lot of people have complained about it at the table, and certain people will not. But you have the freedom to choose.
And right now, for me, I kind of stand on the point where I just still wear the mask no matter where I go. Just because my mask is very comfortable, and I've just kind of grown used to wearing it. And even if it makes one or two more people feel better or safer about playing, I don't mind wearing it. I know some people hate it, but I wear it still just to kind of, if it makes one or two more people feel comfortable, I don't mind wearing it. But I know a lot of people, it really kind of grinds their gears, bothers them a lot.
I used to not like. I used to really bother me, and then I went to Vegas where we did our Vegas trip. Played in the little jail cells that they have, these clear octagon. It looks like the jail cell in like Magneto's in X-Men. And so once I did that, I was like, okay, masks are not a big deal because I hated that with a passion. I just thought that just killed the game completely.
It took out a ton of the social interaction because you can't hear anything when you're in that little glass bubble or plastic bubble, and then players will kind of reach behind the bubble and try to talk to you around the bubble, or they're trying to negotiate a run it once, run it twice situation, and I'm like, you're ordering lunch? I can't quite hear what you're saying. Are you talking to me, the dealer? I did call. Is that what you're asking? What do you have? Kind of just I can't hear anything. Even me and you sitting next to each other couldn't really even talk.
Yeah, it just killed the game. I just hated it so much. So after that, the mask didn't become like a huge deal for me. But I don't know. If I don't have to, I'm not sure if I'll wear it or not. I think I'm just going to judge it by the table. If I go to a table where everybody is not wearing it, I feel pretty safe. Then I probably won't. If it's a table where I think a ton of people are wearing the mask, and I think it would make people uncomfortable, I'll probably just wear the mask. I'm not huge set one way or the other.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. But, so as far as news, I guess that's kind of the latest news this week. But we had an interesting kind of situation happen last week. We both went to that Paramount Thursday tournament. And I was going to ask you what you thought about. So, in this situation, I was in the big blind. And I had King Queen offsuit, and I had about 14 big blinds. And so somebody opened it up to 2 big blinds. We had a caller of 2 big blinds, and we had someone jammed all in for just about 1.5 big blinds. So I was thinking this would be a great time because we were still early enough in the tournament where no one's really busted out because it's a freeze out, and we're all about the same stack depth.
Okay.
So I ended up jamming all in from the big blind for 14 big blinds. The first player hems and haws and doesn't kind of debating. He folds, right? But then the last player to close the action, who is about 14 big blinds with me as well, is thinking and thinking. And then I have the player who was just folded kind of lean over and tell me, he says, well, you're getting great odds to call. You should call. And then the guy puts the call in. He's, oh, okay, sure. So he puts the call in. He ends up having like ace 4 offsuit, ace 6 offsuit. And the guy with the 1.5 big blinds ends up turning a flush with jack 4 of spades. And I ended up losing the side pot, which was still pretty big.
Oh, it sounds like much bigger than the main pot.
Right. And then he ends up scooping that with ace high. And man, to have the dealer not really say anything or none of the play, because I even had a player say, oh man, I thought he was going to fold. And I was like, well, it sure didn't help that guy I told this to the player, it sure didn't help having that guy tell me he should call whenever he's already folded, the hands over. The guy is visibly in a decision. It wasn't automatic. He's sitting there kind of going back and forth. He has the cards up. He's about to fold them. He's kind of thinking. And then to just have another player come out and say, oh, I think you should call. You're getting really good odds. Man, really kind of stung getting kicked out of the tournament like that.
You know, the dealer didn't... Now, like, once it happens, there's only so much they can do, but the dealer didn't mention anything about not, influencing the other's decision.
No, the dealer didn't say anything. None of the players even found it that weird. And Paramount kind of lends itself to a fun environment and a lot of players who aren't probably playing the bigger tournaments. But still, just having that happen was just kind of, I don't know, somewhat annoyed me.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, okay, I love that Paramount kind of caters to like newer players. I mean, we were talking about rooms like growing the game at lower limits. So I like that they cater to these players who kind of are newer and might not know the etiquette. But when you're catering to players like that, part of catering to them is teaching them the right etiquette. So I think the dealer still has to say, hey, once somebody does that and that person calls, you really can't go back and do anything. But the dealer at least needs to say, hey, you can't do that, because you're going to play at other rooms where they're definitely not going to allow that. Although this is not the first time we've come across this, and it does seem to be more and more of a problem around other poker rooms as well.
Yeah, but kind of in the moment, I just kind of decided just to kind of brush it off. I didn't want to seem like I was complaining, because it could kind of be taken as kind of like a sore loser kind of thing. So I was like, I'll just kind of let it annoy me and kind of move on.
Well, not to mention, like, the people will get all, their panties in a wad and all that, but you can't really do anything back. You can't go back in time. That player still has the ability to call. So what the dealer can do is kind of limited. The only thing they can really do is tell that player, hey, don't influence the decision. But if that player's already influenced the decision, I mean, it might help for next time, but doesn't really do anything for you in general, or whoever just got killed in that hand.
Right, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Wondering how would you handle that situation if you were me after? You would kind of the same way, you think?
Yeah, I think the same way. Especially, yeah, like I say, you can't really do much about it. So, kind of just take your lumps. And then I give a little bit more leeway to a place like, Paramount than I would. I guess it would really kill me if I'm like in a $450 buy-in or $500 buy-in tournament. I would be super annoyed at that point. But tournament rules should be the same exact everywhere, but there is a little bit different atmosphere surrounding different buy-ins.
Right. Well, on the absolute positive side, at least it happened before the add-on. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, saved you a couple bucks. And on the positive side, I took 5th place, so I'm pretty happy with the tournament.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, one thing I could notice, and don't get me wrong, everybody was happy. Everybody cashed the final table, especially Paramount, where it's like kind of a fun atmosphere. But at the beginning of the tournament, they did say it was going to be live streamed. And then when we got to the final table, they're like, no, it's not going to be. And I could notice, like, kind of a disappointment around the table. You could tell a lot of people were looking forward to that. I wonder what influenced that, but if Paramount's going to advertise that all these tables are going to be live streamed, unless there's like some type of technical difficulty that they're going to let everybody know about, you can't really use that as an advertisement unless you're going to be consistent with it, right?
Oh, I completely agree, but especially with Paramount's live stream, they have such a cool live stream.
I think they do such a good job with it. Like I say, I think like they're like one decent commentator away from like really having a good one, especially for cheap buy-ins. It's the one live stream you can do for the cheapest buy-in by far.
Because right now they don't have any commentator, correct? There's no one's just the live stream, the cool cameras, and the cool angles. But as far as I recall, there's no commentators.
Yeah, no commentators that I saw, which is weird because they do like have people who I think could do it, and I think they could do a really good job. But I could notice a little bit of disappointment, but like But that being said, I will say I love Paramount, and going back and playing that tournament, realize it's been a while and how much I miss playing at that room. So it's just I think it's the most fun atmosphere that I play in. Like I say, every room has its goods and bads, but that's one just lends itself to a very fun atmosphere.
Other than that tournament, did you end up playing any other poker? Or was that was it for you, correct? Because we were going to kind of talk about how you did this week.
No, I was outside of that. That was pretty much it. So, just didn't get to as much poker as I really wanted to this week. The joys of having, a family, wife, kid, and living an hour and a half away from almost all the poker rooms. That combines to not being great for your hourly as far as poker.
Right. Okay. So I kind of have an interesting hand for you that I thought you'd probably like to hear. I played this hand at 52 Social. It was kind of in the middle of the night, around 3 in the morning probably. And we're about 4 or 5 handed. And I was playing pretty tight, but I decided, well, I'm going to play this hand for some reason, kind of thing. I was like, So I end up with 9-7 offsuit. And I was like, well, I could maybe put 15 in and see what happens, right? I get 3-bet to 45. The other 2 players fold. It comes back to me. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to call because, I don't know, probably should have folded every time. But I ended up putting in the call, and I saw a flop of 6-6-8, which is basically the dream flop for the 9-7 offsuit.
Oh, if you're playing a 9-7 against a 3-bet hand offsuit, yeah, 6-6-8 is your dream flop.
Right. So I'm expecting a pretty big bet here on the turn. He bets $20. So well, this is phenomenal. It's an easy call. So I call, and the turn is another 8. So it's kind of an interesting situation. So I'm like, well, now he's definitely going to kind of size up. But he bets 55. So it's like, well, okay, because I checked it to him both all 3 streets.
Okay.
And so he bets 55. I call. I river the 5. So now we have the straight, but the board is 6-6-8-8-5.
Okay, just a review for the people listening to the podcast. So you raise to 15 pre-flop, get 3-bet to 45, you call with 9-7 offsuit, and flop comes 6-6-8. The turn you check, and on the flop you check. He bets 20. You're getting great pot odds there, so you just choose to call.
Yep.
Turn comes another 8, pairing the board to 6-6-8-8. You check, and he bets 55.
Yes. And we were both over $1,000 deep in this hand. So then the river brings the 5. I bet into him because I don't want this to check through, because I'm thinking he has aces, kings, some sort of ace-king, some sort of 3-betting hand is what I kind of put him on originally.
That seems about right.
So I bet 300. He jams all in for another 1,000. Really put me in a tough situation, because I'm sitting there thinking, how many slow played ace 6s could he have? Ace 8, 8, 9, 5, 6, kind of something like that.
I mean, this is such a weird spot because he should never have an 8 or 6 here. But then again, like aces and kings seem, I mean, like I can understand a call, but you have all the 6s, you have all the 8s, and I don't understand why he would ever be jamming on top. So this is one of those things where almost nothing makes sense about this hand, because I just don't, I mean, would be turning aces into a bluff that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're a straight double paired board. You considered folding, I assume.
I did consider folding, but then I thought back to this player's not 3-betting all that often. So I have to kind of assume that he's not 3-betting the 5-6 suited, the 7-8 suited, 8-9 suited, stuff like that. And then the best part is I actually blocked a lot of the 2-pair or the 6-7 I blocked. 8-9 I blocked with my 9-7.
That is very true. That's really good blockers to have on that as well. So, yeah, I want to say it would be a call, but that being said, when you're going all in for $1,000 on a double paired board with a straight, you never feel good about it.
So I ended up making the call, and then he slammed the table. So then I felt great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that makes you feel really good.
So, he never showed, but I ended up being good. But I thought that was a kind of a cool, interesting hand that I ended up playing.
That's a really cool, interesting hand. It makes you kind of realize playing some of these people who make moves that don't make any sense. When you're trying to make sense of it, just really can kind of throw you sometimes. Because I don't know what he had, if he's turning ace-king into a bluff there, or what's going on. But nothing he has makes sense there. I mean, I don't know why he would turn something into a bluff when he doesn't have that many bluffs in that range.
Well, he definitely, he agreed with you. He was like, well, that didn't make any sense. I don't know what I was doing. Kind of thing. It almost seemed kind of like maybe like we talked about before, maybe like a panic bet. Yeah,
just, either a panic, frustration, or something like that he just didn't know how to respond. Because your $300 bet was kind of overbet the pot quite a bit, too.
Right, it was a pretty big bet, and I was thinking, aces would call this, kings would call this. This is my time to get value on the river, is what I was thinking.
So, I guess it was just, like I say, panic, frustration, because if you have aces or kings, I can understand a call. I definitely think you should probably even be folding there, because you're the one with all the 6s and 8s in your range. And you've called twice, so, you're either looking at an overpair over 6s or 8s, like a straight draw like you had, which just got there, or an actual 6 and 8, which you have everything in your range here. So, very weird bet by him in a weird spot. But it's a good call, because people can say, like, well, he doesn't I can already hear all the listeners, well, he doesn't have that in his range and all that. Well, there's a lot of people that don't have crap in their range, and they turn over all kinds of crap. And what's a $1,000 pot in a Texas pot? That is still definitely a tough call.
I guess on that note, that concludes episode 2 of the Texas Poker Podcast. We will see you guys next week. We're out.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.